Today we're speaking with Joel Urruty. Joel was born in San Francisco, California in 1968, the son of Basque immigrants. He has a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Technology at San Francisco State University, and he also has a Master's of Fine Art in Woodworking and Furniture Design from the School of American Crafts at Rochester Institute of Technology. His studio is currently in Hickory, North Carolina. Joel strives to create elegant sculptures that capture the true essence of the subject matter. Form, line, and surface are used as the visual language. The figure is abstracted to a minimalist form, void of any superfluous information. The primary material, wood, is often masked by paint to allow the form to take precedence over the material. Monochromatic colors, such as black or white, are often used on the sculptures, allowing light and shadow to play off subtle shifting facets. I hope you enjoy the conversation that I had with Joel.
Hello, hi, I'm Willard Watson. Nice to meet you virtually.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
Yeah, thanks for taking some time out of your day this morning just to chat with me. So what we're doing is just some brief interviews with the different artists that are part of the Branching Out exhibit in hopes of trying to get their perspective and get a sense of the pulse of the working with wood and as an artistic medium in North Carolina. And we were going to do these in-person kind of roundtables with folks, but that kind of fell through due to changing circumstances. But yeah, if it's cool with you, we can just go ahead and dive right into these questions.
Sure.
Okay. So the first question is, how did you start working with wood? And did you have anyone in particular that taught you?
I kind of fell into it. I was going to school as an undergraduate at San Francisco State University, and I was studying industrial design. And with that, in the program, I had to take different classes using different materials. So I took a plastics class, some metal class, clay, and one of the classes, the electives, was a woodworking class. And that first class, working with wood, I just kind of fell in love with the material. And then from there, after graduating, I just kind of wanted to keep working with wood and learning more. So I apprenticed for about a year and a half with a guy in Santa Rosa, David Marks. And then from there, I went to graduate school and studied woodworking and furniture design at RIT, School of American Crafts. And I've just been at it ever since. Yeah.
Cool, you got bit by the bug in art school. So since you kind of fell in love with woodworking as part of your formal arts education, is teaching woodworking a part of your work at all?
No. When I left graduate school, I did do a few teaching stints here and there, kind of like at Penland and Airmont, but I haven't done that in years, many years, at least, 15 years since I've taught a class. And for a brief period, I was also an adjunct professor at Philadelphia University. I was there maybe, I don't know how long I did it, year and a half. But no, I haven't been teaching.
Yeah, it's kind of, teaching was a way to fund your art habit, huh?
That was exactly it. And to be quite honest, I remember when I was at Philadelphia University, while I was teaching, my mind was more in the studio thinking about my own work. So, I do enjoy teaching, but, I prefer being in the studio creating.
Definitely. So my next question, would you consider your work to be more functional or sculptural? Or do you combine the two?
It's sculptural, purely sculptural. I started off making functional work that was both 50-50, just very sculptural furniture. But the past 20 years, I would say the past 15 to 16 years, it's been just pure sculpture, zero function.
Awesome. So North Carolina has a rich history of furniture making, and was that a factor in your decision to work in the state? And has North Carolina shaped your work in any way?
The furniture industry had little to no effect in terms of me moving to North Carolina. The reason I moved to North Carolina was my wife, who's a textile designer, was hired on by a company in Hickory, North Carolina. And has North Carolina affected my work? I would think so. I don't exactly know how, but where things just filter through. So, my work is constantly changing, evolving, and I just let it happen.
That's great. So kind of talking about the evolution of your style, do you choose to follow any kind of traditional woodworking techniques or patterns? And then how do you choose between like following traditional techniques and then experimenting?
I feel as though having the formal training, I got a lot of traditional techniques under my belt, and I use them when I need to. Otherwise, I do a lot of experimenting, and finishing. Right now I'm working with on a project where I'm working with resin castings. So it's whatever. I'm open to everything and anything.
Yeah, I can just see behind you in your room here. I mean, it's just an incredible array of forms and colors and styles.
Yeah, I mean, right now my studio, I've got all sorts of, the stuff behind me is all older work. The stuff in front of me is all the newer pieces. And yeah, there's all sorts of things going on right now.
That's great that you're just so open to trying new things and you're not stuck in one form. It's even, wood is a static material, but you're very dynamic with your work with it. So kind of changing lanes, are there any issues with diversity for wood artists? For example, the issue of gender and race in art making is a recurring topic. And have you seen similar issues facing wood artists?
Well, I'm pretty isolated right now, to be quite honest. So I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that question, because I'm in the studio alone every day, all the time. The only time I really leave the studio is, when I would do an art show or a trade show. And there I would meet, it's not necessarily wood artists, just I would say makers in general. And, the shows that I have gone to, there's men, women, different races. It seemed like that it was a pretty diverse crowd. But in terms of the wood artists, that I don't know if I really don't know.
And that is a difficult question. I mean, as an artist, you are kind of inherently in your own space and focus on your work in your studio so much of the time that, yeah, the only time you kind of get around other folks in your field are at these larger trade shows and gatherings, which might not be happening for a while now.
Yeah.
But I mean, just in our exhibit here at the museum, we've got just a wide range of ages and like entry points into working with wood, from traditional furniture makers that have kind of taken it in a different angle, to people that have zero fine arts training, to people who learn how to work with wood in an art school. So it's really cool just seeing the variety of gender and race that we have represented in our state through that exhibit. Let's see. So is nature important to your work at all, either in subject matter or material? And then do you ever use found materials, or how do you choose what you use?
Yeah, nature definitely plays a role in what I make and also how I make. This past year, or 2019, I should say, I did a lot of work with fallen trees. So it was a lot of just chainsaw work and working with green wood and letting it dry and check and crack. I consider that a found object. Also, I've done quite a few pieces with wooden pallets. My wall pieces are all wooden pallets that I kind of find around town that have been discarded. So, yeah, like I said, I'm pretty much open to anything, trying new things. If I have an idea, I won't really mull it over too long. I'll just go ahead and do it and see what happens. Sometimes, they're more successful than other times, but it always seems like I gain something from it. Even if the piece isn't great, I learn something, or it pushes me in a different direction.
That's great. And yeah, when inspiration hits, you have to capture it and strike while the iron's hot. And
right.
That's cool that you're finding influence from so many different sources, from the fallen trees in the forest to discarded pallets on the side of the road.
Yeah,
you can really find inspiration anywhere. Well, so my next question kind of is pretty funny. After you said you use really anything, do you have a favorite wood to work with?
I do. In terms of kiln dried wood, like that I buy, the mahogany is the wood that I enjoy working, because it carves nicely, and it's actually quite can be quite dense. I work a lot with basswood, but I find it almost too soft. But I would say mahogany is by far the wood that I utilize the most in creating my carved sculptures. But working with green wood, a lot of the times I would work with these logs, and I didn't even know what the tree was. And maybe as a woodworker, it's probably not a good thing to admit, but I have a hard time identifying trees. So yeah, I've got some pieces. I'm like, what is that? It wasn't labeled.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and not every wood has a grain that's super charismatic and recognizable, and
Right. Some of them I definitely can identify, but others are just vague.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, then could you talk about your pieces that are in the exhibit here at the museum?
Okay. One of the pieces, which is a figurative sculpture, I've been making that type of figurative work for quite a few years now, and there are different variations. The goal with those pieces are, I'm trying to make kind of a stylized figure. So I'm I'm looking for nice, clean, flowing lines, nice smooth surfaces, and creating a composition with different facets. So it's not important for me to have it representational in terms of having a face. I'm more concerned with the form, a nice, elegant, simple, minimalist form. That's what I'm trying to achieve with my figurative work. The other piece, which is a wall piece, I call those my wall assemblages. Those are the ones that I started making with wooden pallets, which I would cut into pieces, into small pieces, and create assemblages. The one that is in the show, I did not make out of wooden pallets. I actually made out of lumber that I had in stock at the shop. With those pieces, I'm also trying to create a very minimalist, I would say a quiet, something with a meditative quality. So all of my wall pieces have a form of repetition, and repetition creates a rhythm, and that seems, at least to me, it's something that can be quite soothing. The wall piece also, I played around with burning and contrast, black and white. So those are things that I use in all of my work. It's I want to keep it kind of minimalist, clean lines, and kind of a serene, quiet feel. I think that's, in a nutshell, that's the goal.
Oh yeah, I those feelings definitely come through with those pieces when I've spent time with them. Now, are there any artists that you kind of have modeled your aesthetic after, or you feel like have inspired you to kind of seek that clean, minimalist, meditative aspect in your work?
Well, with the sculpture, three-dimensional sculpture, Constantine Brancusi has been someone that I really admire, because he has this really great sensibility with mastering the less is more, and that nice clean form. So I look to him, when I create my work. He has definitely had an influence in that work. The wall pieces, I don't know, because the wall pieces are constantly changing. I've been making those for maybe 6 years, so 6 or 7 years. So it's still kind of new to me, and it's, but yeah, constantly changing.
Mm-hmm. That's great that you're just growing in your own respect, and you're working with a living medium like wood. So Joel, thank you so much for taking some time out of your morning today to talk with me. It's been illuminating and awesome. Thanks, Joel. Have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.